When I came to in the hospital, everything throbbed, my ribs, my legs, my lungs, even my eyelashes felt bruised. But the sharpest pain wasn't physical. It was the realization that no one had called. No missed messages, no footsteps pacing outside the door. Not even my father. 3 days after the accident, he finally showed up. At first, I felt the rush of relief, ready to cry just seeing him. But he didn't ask how I was. Didn't take my hand. Instead, he glanced around the room, exhaled heavily, and said, "Do you still have that savings account? Jessica's in trouble. She really needs help. I'm so glad you're here. Follow my journey to the very end, and let me know which city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels." That's when something inside me cracked, not a bone, not a stitch, but a belief I didn't even realize I was still holding on to. Because I had survived the crash. But at that moment, I realized I'd been unseen by my own family for years. It had been an ordinary Tuesday. I'd stayed late at the office finishing a software release. The sun was already slipping past the skyline when I finally hit the road, thinking about leftover pasta and a hot shower. I remember checking the mirror. The light was green. Then, metal. Screeching. Glass exploding. A black SUV flew through the red light and smashed straight into my driver's side. I don't remember the actual crash. Just flashes, then sirens. And pain that swallowed everything. I woke up later, tubes in my arm, a heart monitor beeping beside me. The doctor said I'd passed out. Internal bleeding. 3 broken ribs. A fractured femur. They called it a miracle. A nurse asked if I wanted her to contact someone. "My father," I said. "Robert Monroe." She nodded and left the room. That was Tuesday night. By Friday, still no sign of him. No texts. No call. I told myself maybe he hadn't gotten the message. Maybe he was away. Maybe something came up. But Saturday morning, my nurse told me she'd called again, and this time, he answered. She paused before she repeated his words. Her face was cautious, like she didn't want to hurt me. "He said he knows," she told me gently. "He's just handling something else at the moment." That something else turned out to be Jessica's latest financial disaster. I didn't eat that day. Couldn't cry either. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to count how many ways a person could be erased from their own family. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was just stunned. Lena, my best friend from college, who now worked at the hospital, was the only one who came. She brought me an ugly stuffed fox from the gift shop. "It's hideous," she said. "But loyal. Like me." She fluffed my pillow. "Your family knows you're here, right?" she asked softly. I didn't reply. Because technically, I didn't have one. On the 4th day, just after the nurse helped me sit up and changed the dressing on my side, I heard footsteps coming down the hall. I thought it was Lena. It wasn't. It was my dad. Robert Monroe, pressed shirt, tailored coat, phone still in hand. He looked like he'd walked straight out of a conference room. I waited for some kind of reaction. Relief. Emotion. Anything. But all I felt was confusion. He didn't run to me. Didn't ask questions. Didn't even look panicked. He just stood there, scanning the room like it was mildly inconvenient. "Hey," he said eventually, eyes landing on the 4 taped to my arm. "You're awake." 4 days now, I answered. He blinked. "Right. They told me." He pulled up a chair and sat down with a sigh. I watched him fidget like he was trying to settle into a meeting he didn't want to attend. Then he got to the point. "Jess is in a tough spot. Some poor investment choices with her ex, it's a mess. She's really struggling." I said nothing. He continued. "You've always been the steady one. I figured maybe you have something saved up from work." Just enough to tide her over while she figures things out. His words hung in the air like fog. I looked at him, this man sitting in front of me while I lay in a hospital bed, stitched together, pinned with metal, and he was asking me for money. For Jessica. I wanted to laugh. But even breathing hurt. I nearly died, I said quietly. And you're here asking about Jess's finances? He frowned, as if I were the one being unreasonable. Of course I care, he said. But Jess is spiraling. You don't know what she's dealing with. I bit back a bitter smile. Oh, just a skull fracture and internal bleeding. But sure, let's talk about what Jess is going through. He looked genuinely puzzled, like he truly couldn't understand why I wasn't reaching for my checkbook. She's your sister, he snapped. You used to be close. No, Dad, I said, voice cold. I used to fix her messes. I turned my head and looked out the window. I couldn't bear to look at him anymore. He didn't stay long after that. Just muttered something about letting me rest and left. No, I'm glad you're okay. No, I was scared. Just Jessica. Always Jessica. After he left, I stared at the ceiling for hours. The machines kept beeping. Nurses moved in and out of rooms. Someone came in to adjust my four. I barely noticed. My chest ached, not from the injuries, but from something deeper. Older. It wasn't just what he said. It was the fact that I'd expected more. Even after everything, even after a lifetime of only being seen when someone else had a crisis, I couldn't stop hearing his words on repeat. Jess is in a bit of a situation. You've always been the dependable one. She just needs a little help. Like I was the family ATM. Like surviving a near-fatal accident made me more available, not more deserving. I thought about my savings, money I'd carefully built up over a decade in tech. I wasn't rich, but I'd been methodical. No splurging. No vacations. Always saying not yet to anything indulgent so I could build a stable future. Not so I could dig Jessica out of another mess. And this wasn't new. I remembered it so clearly, senior year of high school. I'd just been accepted into a selective summer robotics program. Sure, it was pricey, but I'd earned a partial scholarship and raised the rest by tutoring after school. I was so proud. Then Jessica got caught shoplifting. My parents took the money I'd saved and called it a family emergency. Told me the program could wait. That it wasn't the right time. It never happened. In college, when she dropped out of her third major, I was told to drive 6 hours to help her pack up her dorm because your mom and I are just too overwhelmed. So I went. I always went. Because back then, I believed that being useful meant being loved. I thought if I kept showing up, eventually, they'd see me. But lying in a hospital bed, screws in my leg and stitches in my side, I saw things clearly. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was a backup plan. A well they never bothered to refill. That evening, Lena stopped by again. She brought soup and a phone charger. The essentials. You doing okay? She asked, gentle but direct. I didn't answer right away. Then finally, I said. No. But I think I'm finally done pretending I am. She just nodded, settled into the chair beside me. Said nothing else. And for once, I let someone stay without trying to earn it. The next morning, my dad came back. No knock. No hesitation. Just barged in like he owned the room. He had coffee, but only one, and a manila folder tucked under his arm. His face was carved from stone. I didn't even sit up. My leg was aching. I was running on empty. I've been thinking, he said, skipping past any pretense of checking on me. Jess is really in a tough spot. If we don't act fast, this could stick to her for years. She needs a win right now, Hailey. I closed my eyes. We. Interesting word. He kept going, ignoring the look on my face. I spoke with the attorney handling her case. He said if we settle a portion of the debt soon, we might keep it from becoming public. Reputation matters, especially for young women. But we have to move quickly. I'm not giving her anything, I said. My voice was flat. Final. He froze. A flicker of disbelief passed across his face. His jaw tightened. Eyes narrowed. He hadn't expected pushback. Not from me. It's not a gift, he said sharply. It's a loan. You'll get it back. No, I said again, louder this time. You didn't show up when I almost died, Dad. You didn't even text. 4 days later, you walk in and ask for money. He scoffed. Don't be dramatic. You're alive, aren't you? That was the moment something broke wide open inside me. I could have not been, I said, raising my voice. And it wouldn't have changed a thing for you, would it? You'd still be bending over backwards for Jessica. You'd mourn her. Fight for her. Go broke for her. Me? I'd just be a line in the obit you skimmed while calling a bail bondsman. He took a step back, not out of guilt, just stunned. Like he didn't recognize me. I'm not the one who's let this family down, he said coldly. You're letting resentment turn you bitter. No, I whispered. Bitterness is what happens when you spend your whole life being told you only matter when someone needs something from you. Silence. Heavy and long. Then, in the lowest tone I'd ever heard from him, he said. If you let Jessica fall, you won't be the only one we cut off. I met his eyes. Calm. Clear. You already cut me off years ago. You just didn't notice. He left. No apology. Not even a backward glance. And for once, I didn't collapse when the door closed. After he was gone, the silence in the hospital felt different. He hadn't argued when I refused. He didn't plead. He threatened. And that was when I realized that was his only language with me. Not always words. Sometimes silence. Sometimes expectation. But always conditional. If you don't give, you don't belong. I sank back into the bed, letting the weight of the years settle across my chest. My body was recovering slowly. But my mind? My mind was sorting through every moment that had led to this. A life spent being the second choice. Or worse, the convenient one. I thought back to senior year again. Northwestern had offered me a spot. Scholarship, not full, but enough. I was ready. Ready to leave Oregon, ready to start over. Then Jessica got pregnant. Just defer for 1 year, my parents said. Help us through this. So I did. Stayed behind. Worked. Took night classes. Helped raise a baby that wasn't mine. Because they asked. Because they always asked. And I always said yes. Until now. Jessica moved on. She ended things with that guy, relocated to a new city, and got an apartment paid for by our parents. I never made it to Northwestern. By then, they told me I'd found my rhythm here anyway. They said it like it was praise, as if giving up a dream was some sign of maturity. Then came that Christmas. Jessica crashed my car, too drunk to drive her own. My parents forced me to lie to the insurance company, to say I'd been the driver because she already had a DUI. Hailey, you don't want to ruin her life, do you? They repaired the car, but they never repaired the trust. And now, after all those years, here I was, lying in a hospital bed with metal screws embedded in my bones. And they still didn't see me as someone worth showing up for, only someone useful, someone they could call on. Not once did anyone in my family say, "Thank you for all you've sacrificed." Not once did they ask if I wanted to give. They just took, because I let them. Lena came around noon that day. This time, she brought better soup, a creamy tomato from the cafe downstairs. She looked at me, said nothing, just handed me a spoon and sat down quietly. That's what real care feels like, I thought. Someone who shows up without asking for anything. Halfway through the soup, I said. Lena, I think I'm done. Done pretending this family loves me. She didn't flinch. Just reached over and squeezed my hand. You don't owe anyone your pain, she said softly. For the first time ever, I believed her. 3 days after I was discharged, I came home to find them waiting. My crutches clicked on the hallway floor as I limped up the last steps of my building. I was bone tired. All I wanted was silence, my couch, and maybe some mindless Netflix. Instead, my dad was standing at the door. Jessica beside him, oversized sunglasses hiding her eyes, clutching her designer purse like it was a lifeline. Dad held a folder again. I froze. They must have called the hospital, gotten my discharge time. No one told me they'd be here. Hailey, my dad said, like nothing had happened, we just need 5 minutes. I didn't move. I'd already said no. Jessica stepped forward, voice shaking in that practiced way she perfected as a kid. I know I messed up, she said. I'm not proud of it, but I'm still your sister. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I looked at her, perfectly polished, panicked, the same girl who always took, even when she didn't ask. You weren't at the hospital, I said quietly. Her face twitched, then she slipped on the victim mask. We didn't know how bad it was. Dad said you were fine because you never asked. My dad's tone sharpened. Don't make this a moral crusade. Your sister's future is on the line. And mine wasn't. I snapped. You didn't even check if I'd walk again. But now you're here. What? To beg? To bully? We're family. He tightened his jaw. Family means stepping up when it matters. Funny, I said. It only matters when you need something. Jessica started crying. Real tears or not, I didn't know anymore. Dad didn't stop her. Instead, he stepped closer. You think money makes you better than us? You think having a job and savings means you can abandon your sister? No, I said. But it gives me the right to choose who I give my life to. He opened his mouth, probably for another threat, but I held up my phone. Leave now, or I call the police. His face went blank. He stared like I spoke a foreign language. Then he muttered to Jessica. Let's go. They left without another word. I stood there, gripping my phone, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to collapse. Another part stood a little taller. I hadn't just slammed the door on them. I'd shut the door on a lifetime of guilt. It started with a Facebook message. Not from me, my cousin Melissa. We hadn't spoken in nearly 7 years. We were close as kids, but drifted apart after college. That morning, I woke up to a private message in my inbox. Hey, I don't want to overstep, but I heard from your dad. He said you're refusing to help Jessica because you're still bitter about old stuff. Just wanted to check, are you okay? I stared at the message, unsure how to begin. Instead of explaining, I typed. Can we talk? We scheduled a call. For the first time, I told someone outside Lena what had happened, the accident, the hospital, the silence, the confrontation, the fallout. Melissa didn't interrupt. When I finished, she sighed and said, that sounds exactly like them. It turned out my parents had been quietly poisoning the family, painting me as selfish, spiteful, ungrateful for everything they'd done. They told everyone I was hoarding cash while Jessica sank, that I was letting my sister's life fall apart because of grudges. They left out that they never visited me in the hospital. They left out that they demanded money like it was owed. But something surprising happened. People didn't believe it. Not this time. Melissa told me that when Jessica's startup was failing last year, she borrowed thousands from our Aunt Camille, promising to repay in 2 months. She never did. When Camille asked about it, my dad told the family Camille was jealous and bitter. They stopped inviting her to holidays. Another cousin, someone I barely remembered from childhood, messaged me the next day. I always wondered why your parents acted like you weren't there. I saw it when we were kids. Sorry, I never said anything. Then came the most unexpected message, from Uncle Daniel, my dad's younger brother. Your dad hasn't changed. He always protected Jessica. I cut ties years ago. But you? You did nothing wrong. You just stopped playing their game. My inbox slowly filled, stories, regrets, apologies. It was overwhelming, a chorus of voices I didn't realize I needed. I showed Lena one message. She smiled and said, "Told you." Truth echoes. My parents never reached out again, not directly. But I did hear from a mutual family friend that they were livid, humiliated, their social circle shrinking fast. People started asking questions, wondering what really went down. They lost control of the narrative. They couldn't keep painting me as the villain when the truth was spreading. And Jessica? She sent one text. I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family. I didn't reply. Because I hadn't destroyed anything. They'd built this family on imbalance, on silence, one child the golden boy, the other a shadow. All I did was step into the light. That same week, Melissa invited me to a small family barbecue. No parents, no Jessica, just cousins, aunts, uncles who wanted peace. I almost said no. Then I remembered what Lena told me. You don't owe anyone your pain, but you do deserve connection. So, I said yes. At the barbecue, Aunt Camille hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack again. Uncle Daniel grilled salmon and called me the bravest Monroe he knew. It wasn't some dramatic reconciliation. No movie moment. But it was real. And sitting there on the patio in the sun, laughing with people who finally saw me, I realized something. I hadn't lost my family. I'd just found the part of it that knew how to love. It's been a month since that barbecue. No calls from my parents. No texts. Jessica's number is blocked. That silence used to scare me. That endless quiet nod at me made me doubt my choices. But now it feels different, like fresh air. Unpressurized. Mine. I changed the locks on my apartment. Updated my emergency contacts at the hospital. Lena's at the top of the list. I even removed my last name from my voicemail. Just my first name now. You've reached Hailey. Leave a message. Because for the first time I'm not a Monroe shadow. I'm just Hailey. I started therapy. My therapist says I've been in survival mode for years, tiptoeing around people who only loved me when it suited them. She helped me put a name to something I couldn't before. Emotional neglect. The thing about naming it? You can finally decide not to carry it anymore. Last week, I moved some of my savings into a fund, not for anyone else, not for emergencies. But for me. Travel, rest, maybe renting a cabin in the woods for a week. Silence. But the good kind. Lena's planning a road trip and asked if I want to come. I didn't hesitate. I want to drive again, reclaim the road that almost killed me. Remind myself I'm still here, still in control, still choosing. Sometimes I wonder, what if I'd said yes? Handed over the money. Swallowed my anger. Played the role they wanted one last time. Would they have thanked me? Probably not. Would they have respected me? Definitely not. They would have taken my sacrifice, smiled politely, then walked away, waiting for the next emergency. But I didn't say yes. I said no. And that one word didn't make me cruel. It made me free. Because love shouldn't demand pain. Family shouldn't require silence. And being someone's daughter should never mean disappearing into their expectations. So no, I'm not sorry. I'm not ashamed. I'm not theirs anymore. I'm mine.